Hello and welcome to your award-winning The Reasons I'm Broke podcast, bringing you the reasons we're broke every single week through news and headlines ranging from comics, movies, TV, video games, and more. I'm Daniel, one of your hosts right here on the show, and your other co-host this week is Bobby, who helped fill out a lot of today's show notes. So welcome back on, Bobby.
How's it going? Thanks for having me, Daniel. Hello, Brokettes. Let's go!
If this is your episode of the show, the way we format it is we go through this week's news, and then we end it with the Brokette block, which is what Bobby and I have been up to since you last heard us, the more personal side of the show. So let's jump right in and explore sector number 544. So the PlayStation 5 has come across its first design flaw. According to a gaming repair shop, they've had multiple PS5s turned in where the liquid metal used for APU cooling spills and runs, and it becomes uneven. So this impacts the console's cooling, which in turn messes up other parts of the machine. Sony has not yet commented on the issue, and Microsoft's Xbox Series X and S has so far no reported design flaws. I did a little bit more digging on this story, and I found that specifically PS5s that have been opened for repair are the ones more apt to this problem as far as the cooling. Other people that have kept their PS5s upright have not had this issue yet, the ones that have not opened up their PS5s for customization or to fix them. But it is something to be a little concerned about, especially as we get into this current life cycle of the current gen.
Yeah, I saw this. There was also a rumor that it was units that were still in the box sealed, which is proven to be false. It's units that have been opened up for repair, like you said, and I think specifically in the UK. There's just a couple instances mentioned. For me, if it happens, oh well, just go buy another one. I am not laying that thing down. It takes up way too much real estate, and it's ugly as hell. So it's standing up. If that were to happen, then oh well, just buy another one.
That's what a lot of people were saying, that as soon as a lot of other PS5 owners came out and said, I've had mine standing up for years, ever since it launched, and never had an issue. It's not quite yet at the level of, let's say, the Red Ring of Death or the PS5s that were scratching up were getting broken by DVDs, PS3s, I should say. And it hasn't been that widespread of an issue where a bunch of gamers are noticing. And this does remind me of, I don't know if you remember, where the 360s, if you stood them up and then you had a game in there, you slightly bumped it or you slightly moved the console with the game already in there, it would scratch up the discs. When I used to work at GameStop, I had a lot of kids that would come in with their Call of Duty copies or Grand Theft Auto games they shouldn't have, of course, but the ones they played, and they would come in and they're like, yeah, my game's broken. I bought it and look, and I turn it over and there'd be a perfect circle on the game itself. And I said, okay, so this is caused by the lens. The Xbox was moved, it was bumped, it was knocked down while the spinning was going, and it scratched up the lens. It's kind of like a record player. That's why it makes that perfect circle. I would sell so many warranties on the new disc because they'd be like, well, I don't want to buy another $60 game. I'm like, yeah, get the $3 warranty, and then next time this happens, come back, we replace it, and get another $3 warranty on the new disc. And it would there'd be people that would come back all the time, and it's like, yep, nope, give it to me. And GameStop would send them off to get refurbished, quote unquote. They'd get that weird redone on the back where it doesn't really repair the disc. And I knew the data was gone, but GameStop would still send them over. And when they did, we would be like, yeah, we don't need these from the warehouse. We would just stash them. We wouldn't use them. They were in inventory, but we knew that disc was fucking gone. But it kind of reminds me a lot of that, where some consoles do have issues in that they're either not designed to be standing up, or it just doesn't always work out in that way. I know traditionally I've always had consoles that lay flat.
Yeah, that was a specific issue with the 360 because of the tray. The tray would come out and put the disc in it. Whereas you look at the other systems that have the suck-in kind of mechanism where you feed it and it takes it. That's why the 360 had that issue, because of the tray. And when you're standing it up, it would cause that issue, especially if it was dislodged at all. And it'd get jammed in there too, pretty easily.
Did you ever have any 360 discs that did that for you? Did you ever move it while it was going?
No, because I take care of my stuff. These fools that move stuff around are a bunch of idiots. That's why they go back to you and buy those warranties, because they can't take care of their stuff.
Yeah, but those parents, man, they were grateful as hell when it's like, all right, here you go. No more $60, $50 game, $3, and
Yeah.
there you have it. If you've had an issue with your PS5, let us know. But otherwise, again, the Xbox Series X and X, I haven't seen anything on that end. And just throwing that in there, it's a related story.
What are
And
you talking about? There was all those systems, all the smoke billowing out of it. Remember Scott was pointing that out to us?
yeah, I remember
Systems
that.
were terrible. Day one, smoke coming out of it like crazy.
Right.
Then we find out people were doing stuff to it. They were pouring water in there.
Yeah.
They were making like a sauna out of it. So just to go viral. And they did. They got clicks out of it. So
well, speaking of Microsoft's Xbox, there is a Microsoft Direct, and this one you had it on the show notes, so please take it away.
yeah, on January 25th, they will showcase Xbox plans for the year, updates on games for this year, including Bethesda, ZeniMax, Mojang, Turn 10, and Arcane, which are responsible for games like Elder Scrolls 6, the new Forza Motorsport game, Minecraft Legends, Redfall, and Starfield, and a few others. This will also detail plans for Game Pass for the year as well. There is a rumor out there that they are going to price hike Game Pass. Probably not immediately, but something that they'll do later on this year. We fully expect it to happen before the holiday season. The main thing here is this is not a big deal. So it's not going to be like an E3 type thing or Summer Games Fest or like even the Nintendo Directs. It's not going to be very filled with information. It's not going to be a lot of that. It's a very impromptu type of thing. They're really doing this because there's some big titles in there, Redfall and Starfield, for example, that we still don't know dates for. And we were told Q1, Q2, first half of the year. So they got 6 months to release those games. There's rumors that Starfield's going to get pushed till the end of the year or next year. They're saying otherwise. However, there's some devs that are, there were some comments, I think in Reddit and somewhere else, that their opinion of it is not good at the moment. So we'll see what happens. I think this is good that they're going to give some updates on these games. Minecraft Legends is missing, obviously, and Forza Motorsport was announced over the summer as well. So there's a lot of details. And what ties into this, the biggest part of all this, is that when Microsoft Xbox did their presser last summer, one of the big things they stood on was 12 months, 12 games, Game Pass day one, which they've committed to so far, but we haven't really gotten those big titles, right? So Redfall and Starfield are the two biggest ones. Those are the two anchors that everybody's waiting for. And those are from, the ZeniMax acquisition, Redfall being from Arcane, and then Starfield being from Bethesda. So they're heavily anticipated, and Microsoft's got to be careful because they made a promise last summer, and they're starting to fall off the crate here. So we'll see what happens. I'm interested to see what comes out of it, but it's not going to be this big, like Summer Games Fest type thing or E3 type presentations. Be very, very simple, apparently.
So probably like you were saying, some more answers as to when we're getting some of these games. If there is a price hike to Game Pass, do you think they'll do it the smart way, kind of like Nintendo usually does, where they'll add a feature and say, yes, we are making the price an extra $5 or $10, but we're also adding this. Do you think they're going to go that route or just announce a straight up price hike with these games in mind?
They do not need to announce any new features. We're already getting away with highway robbery. I'm surprised that they have not hiked it already. Like, there is so much value for Ultimate. Like, I have Ultimate. I mean, mine's paid off. I'm a different scenario because I had a deal that I went through. But like, you go sign up for it now, and it's like, I think it's $20 a month for Ultimate, which is incredible value because you can play on the go, on your phone, on the computer, on your system. You can play on the cloud. You don't have to download games. So the games that are on the cloud, you can play that way. And if you play them on the cloud, you're playing they're all loaded on a server for Series X quality. So you're getting stuff that's perfect. And then the share feature, and then you can add more people to it. Like, there's the family feature they added. There's so many and there's so many games on there. So adding if they were to tick it up a couple bucks, nobody's going to care. There's so much value there.
How robust is the family or the kids offering as far as games? Because as Leo gets older, he is, we're playing the hell out of Lego DC Supervillains, the Lego Batman 3 game. He loves them. He absolutely adores them. But as he gets older, I'm starting to think if he does get into gaming, and not that I'm not pushing that on him because that's an expensive hobby, but if he does get into it, a nice, inexpensive way would be for me to get the Xbox Series S, get Game Pass, as you mentioned, $20 a month, and he'd be able to play a bunch of the games on there. Are there a bunch of games for all ages that they make available?
Yeah, there's a good offering of that. You've also, don't forget, you got Minecraft, and
Right.
he would probably, that would fit him perfectly. You just throw that to him, and he'll be occupied for hours while you and Kelly, take care of what you need to take care of, especially with the new one coming on the way. So that's an easy way to keep, obviously, responsibility. You want to monitor screen time, obviously, but yeah, that you've got Minecraft, huge, and then there's also all sorts of different smaller indie games as well. Like, indie games can keep kids' attention. They're very simplistic. They don't require a lot to it. Usually, they're just platformers, stuff like that. There's a good offering there.
I love Minecraft, always have. However, every time I watch cringe compilation videos, there's some stuff from Minecon, and I'm always like, I don't want him. He's asked about Minecraft because he watches YouTubers sometimes, and they'll be playing Minecraft, and he's like, "Oh, can I play that game?" And I'm like, I don't want you to become one of the Minecraft cringe compilation people that go to Minecon and everything. Like, they go crazy. Like, that's the one thing that I'm a little apprehensive about, because it's something about Minecraft, and I don't know if it's just gaming in general, but I've noticed that Minecraft kids from working at the comic shop, GameStop, at specialty shops throughout the years, they're a special breed, just like Fortnite people are, just like everyone else. But Minecraft especially, I'm like, maybe we're not going to play that right away.
So the thing to keep in mind with Minecraft, and I know what you're talking about, but the main thing to keep in mind with that is that if he has a creative side, Minecraft is where you want him, because he's going to be able to tap into that creativity. If he's not creative, he's not going to like Minecraft. That's how you'll find out right away. Can you sit down and play Minecraft? Like, let's say you just had all the time in the world. Would you enjoy playing Minecraft personally?
Would I don't really know what you do in it. I think it's
You build.
open world.
You build. Yeah,
stuff?
you
No,
just build.
I'm not a builder.
You're given an open space. You dig, you build, you get resources, you build. There's no blueprint. You build it all. So if you want a cave, you want a house, you want a farm, you build it all from scratch. It's even more dissected than Animal Crossing is. It's you design everything, and you craft everything, all that stuff. You have to go get your resources and then craft it and then build it. So if you're not someone that enjoys being creative, then Minecraft's not for you.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I love games like Roller Coaster Tycoon. There's another one that I had on Steam where it would let you make your own theme park. I love all of that, but when it comes
those are
to
Sims.
That's the difference, because something like Minecraft or Lego stuff where you actually build Legos, I can't do it. Like, my brain, that's like a different side of my brain. But if it's a simulator where I can build a park and put a bench here and there, I can do that all day.
Yeah, because that has a blueprint, and you get the pieces, and you put it's just like building a Lego set that comes out of the box. You have the instruction booklet, and those are fun to put together. But if you hand me a bucket of Legos and want me to do something with it, I'm going to give it to somebody else to do, because I have no interest. So that's where, like, you'll find out right away, like, okay, well, if he's into Minecraft and he actually enjoys playing it, then that means he's creative, and you just watch the stuff that he can create, which is really cool, because it gives children, young adults, even adults, the creative freedom to play in a free environment and pretty much not be judged. And then you can create that server, and friends come over and play, and you trade stuff, and you have a village that you all get to share. It's like an open world that you all tap into and share and build onto, and then you can go out and do the dungeon stuff and gather resources and fight enemies. So it's got that built into it too, but the main thing is the creativity and building everything.
Well, if we ever end up getting through, because he's super entertained by Lego supervillains, I think he likes that in Jurassic World a lot, but he basically unlocked everything in Jurassic World. So now we're working on supervillains, and that's a much bigger game. It also came out many years after. I even noticed in the controls and the graphics, customization, it's a lot more robust. So it's going to take us a while to get through that and unlock some characters. And he was like, "Oh, we can unlock Ra's al Ghul," and I'm like, "Ra's al Ghul is the hardest guy to unlock, Bobby." Like, for some reason, I'm like, why my favorite villain? Sinestro, I'm sure, is a little easier, but Ra's al Ghul, you have to get all of the mini kits, you have to have unlocked all the characters, and I'm like, that's not even like a well-loved villain by anyone else but me. Like, why would they make that so hard to open? But they did. And if we ever get through it, I may, at that point, however old he is, depending on what the situation is with the baby coming with Sophia, all right, maybe I'll get an Xbox Series S. They're like $250 usually on sale. and get the Game Pass, $20, and he can have at it. And eventually, if I ever have time, I can finally play the Halo games, Gears of War, all the games you were showing me on your phone or on the desktop, all of that stuff that I never got to play that I know I would appreciate since I grew up in that era of gaming and I just didn't have an Xbox at that time. The old controls won't bother me. I'm used to that stuff. So it's going to be fun if that day does come.
And they do rotate other games on there from time to time. Like right now, there is another Lego game on there, the Star Wars Complete Saga. And that game just came out last year, and it's already on Game Pass. So hint out there, everybody listening, if you see games that are like new and they drop in price rather quickly, that means they're about to hit either Game Pass or that new Sony system that they have on there for their Game Pass type of thing that they have. It's one of the two. That's an indication that that's about to happen. So sometimes don't fall for, well, it depends. Maybe you just want to own the game physically on a disc, but sometimes don't fall for that, because if you are subbing to one of those services or both, you're going to end up getting it, and then you actually end up having it twice. You could have saved the $20, $30 or whatever it was.
If something big does come out of this Microsoft Direct, we will absolutely cover it right here in the coming weeks. We got some positive Netflix news. Actually, I know the movement's feeling very positive about Netflix. They have officially renewed Wednesday for season 2. And I'm surprised it took this long because of the success of it. There was speculation that the second season of Wednesday could move from Netflix to Prime Video due to the deal between Amazon and MGM. However, those reports have been shut down because Netflix had already this deal in place before the Amazon acquisition, so those contracts are still honored moving forward. So basically, Wednesday's Netflix show from now until I guess they decide to stop hosting it or the contract ends. I don't know how that works on the back end. If it's like the Disney Netflix shows where they could eventually put it on Disney Plus, or it's eventually owned by Disney. I don't know if the same is going to happen to Wednesday, but we know that at the very least, season 2 will be coming on Netflix.
I saw an ad, actually all this week I've seen it a few times, for it's a new mobster show. It actually looks pretty good. There's some good talent in it. And it's going to MGM Plus. What the hell's that?
I've never heard of it, but it sounds like that Showtime thing that you can get on Hulu where it's like an extra addition to your maybe Amazon Prime. Or
okay, so it's part of a different service.
That's what I'm thinking, because that's how that Showtime Plus, you can get it on its own and pay for it, or you can get it as part of the Hulu deal and you get a little bit of a discount. I'm assuming that's what MGM Plus is.
That's wild.
And is that Amazon acquisition, like we know it's going through, but is that officially now a thing? Like, are they officially merged or not yet?
Something happened with it. I don't know if it finished, because the Bond movies are on Prime and they weren't before. And those are MGM films. So I think it's done.
All right. So
that was one of the quiet ones that kind of just happened.
I wouldn't be surprised if MGM Plus was included as a part of Prime, but otherwise, if they keep it separate and want to charge Prime members a little bit extra and get exclusive MGM stuff, then that's probably the way to go about it. Yet another option, right? Another channel that people can pay for.
Yeah. I think that show's called Godfather of Harlem. So look at that. It's pretty cool. Or at least it looks cool.
Before we move on from Wednesday, did you get a chance to watch season 1?
I haven't watched Wednesday yet because I'm trying to wrap up some other things. I've got like 1 episode left for the FIFA documentary and 3 episodes left from Narcos Mexico. So I don't like watching too many things at once, because then I end up forgetting things.
Yep. I do the same thing.
So some of those smaller ones, I kind of get it done really quick. And then others, I tend to batch them together. And then I keep adding stuff. Like somebody was telling me about What We Do in the Dark. And I looked at that, and that looks interesting. That's over on Hulu. There's like 4 seasons of that crap. Luckily, they're like 30-minute episodes, but it's all about vampires. And they drop in some big name vampires that were in previous motion pictures. So that's pretty cool.
Oh, shit.
So I'm taking a look at that.
Nosferatu, I'm sure, is in there, right?
Yeah, I think he's in there. Blade's in there.
Wow.
I think Cruz shows up for a second. Like they're just little pop cameos. So, but apparently it's really good. So I'll check it out. It's on the list. How about that?
Well, what's going on in the world of Morty and Rick? Because it sounds like the toxicity is continuing even with the creators.
Yeah, apparently Mr. Poopy Butthole co-creator Justin Roiland is facing felony charges related to a 2020 incident of alleged domestic violence. Roland, 42, is charged in Orange County, California, with one felony count of domestic battery with corporal injury and one felony count of false imprisonment by menace, violence, fraud, and or deceit. He pleaded not guilty in 2020 and appeared in court Thursday, January 13th. So this week. Wait, today's the 12th. Wait, I'm so confused. For a pretrial hearing. A trial date has not been set yet. He is due for another pretrial hearing on April 27th. According to the felony complaint obtained by Variety, the incident occurred on or around January 19th of 2020 against an unnamed Jane Doe who was dating Royland at the time. I guess my concern with this, I don't care for Morty and Rick. The game that he has out currently is his game on Game Pass. So will Microsoft act on this and pull it? Because that game currently is the number one game on Game Pass. It dethroned Minecraft. So that's very interesting. Yeah, High on Life is the most played game on Game Pass and Steam. It shattered everything and took Minecraft and literally just shoved it down the drain.
Well, let's see. So if he's going into court, he's pleading not guilty, then I'm assuming Microsoft is not going to. If he were to have been found guilty now, they probably would have acted on it in some form. But otherwise, I think because he's
how fast does he get canceled? How fast does he get canceled? That's the thing. Does the internet go up in arms and push on Microsoft? If that happens, then we're going to see something. Yeah, obviously there's a lot of money at stake here. So
that'll be the thing. If the internet actually cares and goes after it and calls him out, then sure. And maybe they should if he ends up being guilty. Again, we still don't know what's going on here, and these hearings can take a while. It's already, almost 3 years later that this incident happened, and he's now just getting into the pre-trial stuff or into the trial stuff. So it's going to be, I think, a little while still before we find out guilty or not guilty once this is all over, or if they settle out of court, which is more than likely what's going to happen.
Yeah, based on the technical terms there, it looks like he held her against her will. That's what that sounds like. So, without knowing all the details. So, interesting. We'll see what happens with it. I'm sure it'll be in the news because there's a new Morty and Rick season coming out pretty soon. And obviously High on Life is doing extremely well on Game Pass. That company that put that out is called Squanch Games. And yes, that game is playable on Game Pass and on Steam. Those are the only two ways to play it. And so if you have access to one of those two, go play it. It's not free on Steam, but it is free on Game Pass if you have access. It's a decent game. It's not terrible. The comedy is interesting. My favorite character is Knifey.
I think if there are some appearances from the creator, like doing some interviews, hey, promote this game, I'm sure those are gone now. Like, there's no way they don't at least cancel those until that's all. It kind of reminds me of the incident with the Ren and Stimpy stuff with Nickelodeon, although he was found guilty, and that's when they were like, all right, everyone started pulling Ren and Stimpy from the streaming services. You weren't able to find it anywhere. Nickelodeon is quick to act on all of that. I was just listening to an episode of To Catch a Predator, his podcast. There was a guy that was contracted by Nickelodeon to do video stuff for him, and they were quick to fire him as soon as he ended up on To Catch a Predator. So Nickelodeon, at least, they don't play around.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's a big deal, though. You're talking a children's network and a predator against kids. So I think we're talking next level there.
We do have some sad news here from any broquettes that might live in Ontario. They might already know about this. Might be your shop. Captain Can Comics of Brantford, Ontario in Canada posted the news on social media last week that they had been the victims of a smash and grab. They said, quote, "Alrighty, at about 12:45 this morning, someone took a saw to our front door and busted in, stealing $74,350 in graded comic books inside of a 45-second shopping spree. No one was here and we were all physically okay. We just need a new door. The outpouring of support so far has been overwhelming," end quote. So heavy hitters from this stolen wall of books include Fantastic Four #1. It was graded CGC 2.5, valued at $24,000. Silver Surfer #1, graded at 7.5, worth $3,000. Tomb of Dracula 10, graded CGC 5.0. That one was priced at $2,250 and more. So it kept going down in price from there, but those were some of the biggest hitters. I've seen some of these smash and grabs before, especially during COVID. A lot of those were happening in comic shops. And whoever stole all of these, it took them 45 seconds. They knew exactly where all the big books were. They're probably a regular or were a regular, might even be connected to someone. I don't want to say someone that works in the store, but someone that is someone who frequents that shop. So by them going in 45 seconds, they are very familiar, and usually they're customers or ex-customers that are very knowledgeable on what they have up on the wall and where.
Yeah, whoever did this, they obviously cased the place out, so they knew what they were doing. I can't say the good news. The possible good news or silver lining in this is if they're a good business, they have insurance, so they're going to get all that money back. What they won't get is obviously those physical books. That's the bad part. The value, though, they'll get back as long as they have that insurance.
Right.
Any business should have that. Like my business has it, so that's why I'm not worried when things like that, if they were to happen, which they have in the past, we just get it all back. Insurance covers it. The downside of that is obviously some of those prize pieces that are, in some cases one of a kind. I mean, you're talking a Fantastic Four book valued at $24,000. Like you just can't replace that so easily. Especially what if that was somebody's that worked there and they had a special attachment to that book? Well, now it's gone. Poof. That's unfortunate.
Usually these thieves are not very bright. Now they might know about they might know about comics though. So that's the one thing that I'm like, okay, maybe not. But what are your bets that this person is an idiot? Because this error has happened in the past and tries to sell the books graded, and those numbers are attached to accounts. So, what do you think? What do you think the chances are of them being the ones who try to sell them online or to someone else and then get caught thanks to the serial number?
It's going to get caught because of the serial numbers. That's the best part of having graded books is you get the serial number, and you better believe that those owners of that business had the serial numbers marked down. It'll be monitored daily, and the second those books pop up, boom, busted. If they're smart, they'll pop them open and go get them regraded. But people are dumb. So.
Yeah. Yeah, they are. Plus, I don't think they're going to go through all that trouble, and they're going to try to flip them quick. The one other possibility, and this is the other thing I've heard of before, is they'll sell it privately to like a pawn shop or another comic collector. And then that estate, that was the example I heard of, that estate will then try to have an auction to try to get rid of these books. And then some books end up getting sold to someone else that way, and then they're gone forever. But then in that previous case, they were able to stop and hold on to the books that hadn't been sold yet, hand them over to authorities, and then have the whole investigation take place. So there's a couple ways where this could go wrong, but I'm hoping the thief or thieves are not that smart and try to sell them as is.
Hopefully they don't do that at all. Hopefully they just show up and say, we're sorry, give them their stuff back with their hands out so the cops can cuff them.
Best case scenario, right? Yeah, I don't know if that'll happen. And I've read the comments too on this story, like CGC is a ripoff anyway. It's like you're missing the whole point of the fucking story here.
Trolls, they're everywhere, man. No matter where you're at, no matter what country and what it's about, trolls just pop up. Stay in your lane, buddy.
Someone who is not a troll, and I like Kumail Nanjiani, always have, and he is an Eternal star. He said that no other filmmaker in Hollywood has earned the right to criticize Marvel movies more than Martin Scorsese. In an interview with Esquire magazine, he said, quote, "I obviously love the movies Tarantino makes or Scorsese makes, and I may disagree with Scorsese's opinion on superhero movies, but I mean, who else has earned the right to have an opinion? If Scorsese hasn't earned the right to have an opinion on movies, then none of us should have an opinion on movies. It's so strange that people get upset about it." End quote. Thank you. That's the fucking thing that we've been preaching on here. It's me and some of the hosts of, look, if anyone knows film, it's going to be Scorsese. It's going to be Coppola. It's going to be these master filmmakers. It's not going to be me. It's not going to be anyone else that I argue this point with. Martin's opinion on movies is way more valid than mine or any critic even, I would say. And that I think this star gets it. And I like that they put it that way of, look, I might disagree, but Martin knows more about it than I do. He's more qualified. And I'm glad that finally there was like a rational quote that came out of this.
You say you've been a fan of Kumail Nanjiani. What part does he play?
Oh,
what character is he?
They're one of the Eternals.
Yeah, which one?
Let's see. So he's a Pakistani actor. I'm not reading this off
as you Google. Yeah, there you go.
He's the red one, right?
Stop picking on the MCU. Stop it.
I'm complimenting one of their stars here.
DC
oh,
has
he's the purple one.
no, no, you're not. You're DC has so many issues. We should be applauding the MCU.
Oh, I don't know about that. They're on the same level now. I'll meet you halfway.
You're closer to being an MCU fan than ever.
Oh, I don't know about that one.
I bet.
Well, okay, I see what you're saying. Where
they're pissing you off real bad right now, and Zaslav's not the hero that everybody wanted at the moment.
Sure. I mean, I am.
That's what I mean by that.
I am way less focused on hating on Marvel MCU than I was like 2 years ago. You're right. I'll give you that.
Yeah, I'm not saying you're going to be showing up to the movies and supporting. Absolutely not. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying you're leaning more of like, hey, I'm a comic book fan and I like superheroes. I'm going to ignore the BS because there's a lot of drama over in this backyard that I was supporting and pretty much shit on my yard at this point.
Exactly. Yeah. Like now it's heavily affecting the stuff I like. There wasn't any more of,
right.
Well, I'll watch my movies and those can go be bad over there. And now it's like everything's bad.
Right. And you said it last week and the week before, like you can't even watch the damn crap that you want to watch because it's all sorts of issues. You can't support any of it. So it's like, do you just sit in the backyard and throw rocks, or do you try to compromise and look at stuff? And yeah, I know where you sit with it, and it's a different conversation for a different day, but that's all I meant by that.
What'd you think of Eternals? Did you ever see it?
Yeah, I saw it. When did it come out? Like 2 years ago? It was during the pandemic.
Yeah,
I did watch it. It's a different type of movie, and they marketed it that way too. It's not your normal standard MCU stuff because they're dipping into other things that are outside of what you see and read about. Like if you were to poll 25 people on the street, how many people have read any books that had the Eternals in them, not the main series but just included them? Probably, if you're lucky, one, depending on where you're at. But more than likely you're going to get zero, and the answers you're going to get out of that is like, oh, I remember seeing the movie. Oh, I remember seeing the movie. Like I heard about the movie. Oh, is that movie that's on Disney Plus? I didn't watch it. Stuff like that. That's the responses you get. So it's out of left field. I wouldn't say it's amazing, but it's got content for a certain reason. It explores a niche corner of the universe, and they did it for a reason because it pretty much set up this phase that we're about to enter, and it's going to unfold a lot of different characters and things that are happening. Like at the end, spoiler alert. I'm sorry, the movie's been out for a while, guys. Thanos' brother is there. It's like stuff like that. So it's unfolding that cosmic universe that you're not going to get in your normal like Iron Man, Cap type movies. So that's why they did it.
Gotcha. Well, very cool. I hope Kumail Nanjiani has a part in that second sequel or in future movies. And I'm sure this won't be the last we'll hear about this very old quote from Scorsese that keeps coming up and getting the clicks. And of course, I love covering it on here because people always have an opinion on it. And it's either a really terrible one or sometimes it's a good one, like this one here.
Yeah, the dude he knows how to make some film. That can be proven.
So we're now getting a little bit of background as to what happened between Warner Brothers Discovery and Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. And this is thanks to a report from Variety, who's giving this clarity. And according to this report, The Rock was not very well liked with the new regime at Warner Brothers Discovery. So the report suggests that Johnson went directly to David Zaslav with a pitch that included a Superman versus Black Adam movie, and this was set up as a multi-year plan. Now, Johnson didn't follow the chain of command and went over the heads of a bunch of people by going straight to Zaslav, which ruffled a lot of feathers internally. I did hear another report that said that when he got told no by the people underneath, he then went to David Zaslav. And that wasn't a part of this article, but I'm just kind of stating what I've also heard. Johnson also had some wild demands that included a tequila bar at the New York premiere of Black Adam featuring his Terramana brand. And he also pushed for a producer credit on DC League of Super Pets and then did not promote the film very heavily, not as heavily as he did Black Adam. So all of these things obviously feed into that big rumor and that we're still seeing of him having a massive ego. He clashed with Vin Diesel in the Fast movie, so we know it's there. But in this case, him not following the chain of command, it did piss off people at Warner Brothers Discovery. And it sounds like that probably led into some, all right, we're not going to re-up you for another Black Adam. And I think a lot of that was the performance of the film. It didn't do great, and that's why James Gunn didn't end up having him be a part of his 10-year plan. But in this case, it sounds like there were other problems aside from just the film's performance.
I'm so tired of hearing about this crap. I don't care. It just doesn't matter anymore. Like the Rock, it doesn't matter to me personally. I don't care how much he gets slandered by all this crap. The guy has a special place in the entertainment world, and that cannot be erased. He's had an elaborate career. Obviously, his first choice wasn't an actor. He was a performer in the WWF, WWE, and he came out of the Attitude Era. And he was very good while he was there. He was just a showman his entire life. And then he goes into acting, and the same thing. He's a showman. It shows. And cliche. And we get to these other ones that are coming out now, like John Cena. All these great wrestlers that were great showmen, they just have the talent to be an actor. And some of them don't work as well as others, obviously. And some of them are household names better than others. But you got all sorts of TV commercials now with John Cena. He's on all sorts of stuff. He's in living rooms everywhere. Same with The Rock. Rock's got this show. I think it's on The Rock or it's on Peacock. It's either that network or CBS. I can't remember which one it's on, but it's called Young Rock. Besides the movie stuff, he's doing TV, and he shows up in those. It's not little cameos. Like, he's actually in it. So he's just dabbling all over the place. He's an entertainer, and he's a name. And obviously, we've discussed this. Whatever you put him on is going to attract attention. But the interesting thing, again, we talked about this before, is some of those things haven't done very well. Like, just because his name's in it doesn't mean it makes. Look at DC League of Super Pets. It pretty much bombed, and he was in it, although it wasn't promoted very well. But still, his name was in it, and it didn't do very well. And then you got Black Adam. Yeah, it didn't do very well. So, and then I think you and I were talking about specifically, we didn't realize Black Adam was the first movie that he's made so much money in. He didn't even make that much money in the Fast movies. They had him ranked, and Black Adam was number 1, but still a low number regardless.
You're talking about salary?
Yeah, no, not salary. How the movie performs.
Oh,
like,
gotcha.
because one of the tag labels was The Rock's biggest movie opening week ever. And remember, I was like shocked by that. I was like, how's that even possible? And sure enough, we looked at the list, and Black Adam was number 1, and it beat all the Fast films. It beat all those other great movies he was in. The Rampage and that San Andreas one or whatever that's called. All those different movies he was in, like even Jumanji, it beat those. So it's like, it makes you think. It's like, wow, like he's that big of a star, yet he still hasn't had this big drive to put over a finish line. And it took Black Adam to get him there. And even then, that wasn't a huge number. So it just makes you think.
Plus, the budget was much larger on Black Adam than the rest of those films, which was a huge issue for this movie. I think Warner Brothers Discovery claims that they're going to break even on the film, but they're saying that they're going to end up losing $100 million when it's all said and done.
Right now, I think it's out now, or it's about to hit HBO Max.
They're
going to use that. Okay, yeah, they're using that because I saw the ads for it. They're using it to drive subs, and they I just saw earlier, Macia reported they upped it by $1. So they're gonna use it to advertise to drive subs, and they're gonna move money that way. We won't know that number obviously because none of these services publish that info, but it's interesting when you look at it in perspective. Like, as big as he is, his name and what he does, and he's in every household. Kids know him, adults know him. Like, he actually hasn't driven that much success to certain films. It's crazy when I discovered that and shared it. I could not believe that. It's cool because he's an incredible entertainer. All this other crap that's happening, if he's doing it, bad on him, shame on him. That's bad pub, bad form, and a lot of the stuff we won't know because it's backdoor deals and some of that stuff that just doesn't get put out. And if there's slander out there, there's slander out there. If it's true, then it's true. It just sucks.
So, playing devil's advocate a little bit here, if Black Adam had been a massive success, let's say it hit close to $1 billion, they were going to make a profit on it. Do you think that they would have kept his plans in here of kind of like Joker 2, where they're keeping that sequel going, even though it's not connected into the Gunverse? Do you think that they would have then moved forward to Black Adam 2, had Henry Cavill come back as Justice League Superman, and that would have continued in its own little Black Adam universe? Or do you think he would have been cut off from that separate universe regardless, from James Gunn's universe, no matter how well this film did?
I think there would have been an opportunity to have that discussion. The reason why it looks like it all got cut off and he had to fight so hard was because it didn't perform well. And he probably he made all sorts of promises because he's The Rock. And obviously he got paid a lot. He had a lot. His hands were all over this movie. Like, he did a lot with it. And we don't know how much his publishing company made off of this. Like, how much money did he make versus what WB could have made? We don't know that, or the DC studios. So there's a lot of money there that we don't know those answers to, and that's probably why some of that animosity is there. And yeah, if with Gunn coming on, that's probably why Zaslav's so hands off. You hire somebody to handle that stuff for you. If Zaslav's going to sit there and meddle, then he's not a good boss. He's not running that company properly. It's the same thing when you go to the NFL and you've got an owner that meddles with a GM. It's the same concept. And the perfect example is the Dallas Cowboys. Jerry Jones doesn't know how to trust a GM, so he doesn't hire. He's the owner and he does everything for the team. Because when he did have a GM, he meddled. And like, what's the purpose of having somebody that's below you to do the work if you're going to meddle? And that's what NFL teams do. They have the GM that hires the coach and all the staff below them, and the owner just, sits up top and makes, some decisions and has feedback. That's how management works. And if Zaslav's going to be meddling, then he's not a good manager, and he wouldn't be our owner, and he would not be performing that service correctly. So I think that was the plan, and that's what changed things. Was they brought Gunn on, and who knows how long those conversations were happening. They saw the decline, and it's like, okay, Zaslav's like, hands off. It's like, Gunn, it's your choice. Whatever, it's yours. This is your baby. If you want to continue this, it's yours. And then who knows, if maybe he was upset that Rock went and tried to knock on his door and try to figure it out. Because that again does cause more problems.
It does. And that's something that even when there was the possibility of like a year ago of the Snyderverse maybe continuing, like we were thinking of, there was a part of the movement that was begging The Rock of, hey, why don't you use the Black Adam film because of this rumored worst kept secret that Henry Cavill was in the movie. Why don't you use that to bring back the Snyderverse, and we'll support it. We'll support the movie. And there was the smart side of the movement that's like, The Rock's not going to want to hop into Zach's universe and let Zach do his thing. He's going to want to bring his people on. Exactly.
Right.
His people from his company. And we heard that, I don't know if you remember, The Rock like went radio silent. And this was while Black Adam was in films or was in theaters when alleged pedo Gunn got the promotion. And that's when he was not online for days. And that's when people figured out he was probably vying for that position, either for himself or for someone in his company.
Yeah, I think the missing piece in all this, and we're probably never going to know the answer, is how much money he made off this movie, not as an actor, but for his production company, because all that money that would have gone to DC/WB it's a revenue sharing. It went to his production company, and that's what he signed that contract for to get this movie done. So there's money, that is missing from WB/DC that they won't get because of all this. So there's a lot of backyard drama going on that we probably won't know the answers to because of that. And that's why I think there's a lot of animosity there, and this weird, no, you stop it. No, you stop it. that stuff.
Well, if they do reveal more, we will definitely cover it here on the show. Someone that was surprising as to getting re-upped by Warner Brothers Discovery is Arrowverse showrunner Greg Berlanti. He inked a new deal with Warner Brothers Discovery, setting up Berlanti Productions as a mini studio inside of Warner Brothers Television through 2027. So this deal is exclusive to television. Berlanti still is with Netflix as far as a first look movie deal. And fans were surprised as they expected Greg to leave Warner Brothers Discovery after the CW closes up. Now, this is something that I'm not a fan of Greg Berlanti. I dropped out of the CW shows years ago, but a lot of people that were on for the final season of The Flash, for example, or were big Arrow fans, are pretty excited for this news as they think that this might mean something in the DC universe. And it's not confirmed, but it's possible that he may work on more DC shows up till 2027.
Berlanti's involved in a lot of different things. Like, he does a lot for TV, and you got to look at the bright side of this. We have an Arrowverse because of him, and whether you love it or hate it, we all at some point were rushing home to watch these shows when they first came out on TV. It was the first actual good representation of superheroes that we had on TV. And then, the universe grew a little bit too large and it got bad, but that happens with everything. And maybe it got too big for its britches, and there's probably we know there's a huge deficit there of money because of the CW and the shows that it put out there. The good thing is like we had access to these characters that we wanted to watch. Like, if I didn't watch it live, I was making sure that it was recorded on my DVR so I could catch up on the shows, because these weren't on streaming at the time when they first debuted. So it did set the stage for something. I mean, I actually think that because of the Arrowverse, that's how we got the Netflix shows like Daredevil, Jessica Jones, all of that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That's how that was an idea stolen. Berlanti created that universe with different characters, all from DC, and they interchanged them and put them together. And they did the crossover episodes and crossover events. And look what Marvel did. They inked a deal with Netflix, and they made those shows. And guess what they did? They crossed them over and made a miniseries with all of them crossed over in the Defenders. So it's the same thing. So if anything, Marvel copied that idea from DC/CW. I think that this whole thing set up the stage for what we have now. And like I said, love it or hate it, that's why it exists. And at some point, everyone loved it or enjoyed it at some point. Like I know you enjoyed watching them at first. Like you were enjoying Flash early on. I know you watched Arrow a little bit, and then it got stale. Arrow had its issues. It got to Villain of the Week, and Flash had its same problem. It got dumb. But then they went back. They fixed some things. Did it get better? Not really. They get worse sometimes, and you just get tired of it and you fall off. I think this is maybe a good idea because depending on what they're actually going to do with this could be good product that they're going to put on this new streaming service. Who knows?
I will give credit to the Berlanti-verse as far as the experience I had at the comic shop of when those shows were hitting, the Wednesday Warriors would come in and they'd talk about the Arrowverse show. They'd talk about Arrow. The kids were watching it especially. Everyone was watching it, and it was a big deal for a little while there. And that did drive Flash sales. That did drive a little bit of Green Arrow sales as far as the comics. They got people excited about DC characters. And I know people at that point were still saying, like, DC can get their TV stuff right, but not their big screen right. And they're probably right as far as the numbers. The TV numbers are probably huge. And box office was still great, but they were referring to the reviews, I guess, and the critics. But at that point, they were, at least the Wednesday Warriors, the comic people that were actually buying comics every week, they enjoyed those shows. So I will give it that. And if you enjoy the Arrowverse, then you should probably check out whatever comes out of this Berlanti deal. Another surprising move here from Warner Brothers Discovery, as according to Variety, and this one I'm taking with a huge grain of salt, but according to Variety, Warner Brothers is open to keeping Ezra Miller on board for future projects. Given that Miller has stayed out of trouble since beginning mental health treatment in the summer, some executives are willing to give them more work after The Flash releases. So I'm calling bullshit on this one simply because they don't want to say that Ezra is fired until after The Flash releases. I think the Black Adam movie was a good example of that. They're not announcing no Black Adam 2 until well after opening weekend. And I think that I'm betting all my money that as soon as The Flash ends up not doing well in theaters either, that they will then say, okay, well, we really are done with this universe. And it's going to be, we already know it's a close-ended film. They're getting rid of the stuff that was setting up Ben Affleck as the Batman of that universe instead of Michael Keaton. All that stuff got cut out of the film is what we're hearing. So there's no The Flash 2 coming out of this. I think the only chance is maybe if there is $1 billion that come out of this film, which I think is very unlikely. And that once that doesn't happen, they will then say there are no future projects with Ezra Miller in the works. They just don't want to kill that box office today.
Yeah, I think it's more than that too. It's PR, and it's good PR because they can't slander Ezra. He obviously has gone to treatment. He's in treatment ongoing, and let's look at the other side of this. Everybody deserves a second chance if you're willing to do the right thing. So if he messed up and he's apologetic for it, then he's doing the right thing. Then everything should be kosher for now. And yes, there's a big project for them that they need to be careful because any bad PR more than what's already occurred is going to damage the amount of money that movie can make. So yeah, they're going to be careful on both sides. They don't want slander suits on Ezra. And two, they need to protect the film that they are going to have to release later on, that they're not going to cancel. If they were going to cancel, they would have canceled over a year ago. Mm-hmm. That movie is going to come out and it'll do what it does. So if the movie does poorly, then that's when we start seeing the negative PR because they'll cut bait after that. But until then, they're going to have to support him, support his agent, support that camp. And you don't want to have another slander case where, a movie studio is not supporting a mental health case. Like that's just, you're opening yourself up to all sorts of damage. So yeah, they're going to be very careful. They're going to be very PR about it. And why not? Like, what if we don't know some of this stuff and Ezra has been 100% straight and narrow and gone the extra effort to go to treatment and be a better human being. And this could change his life forever. So like, we just have to be careful. And I'm sure that'll all be revealed after the film comes out. Because he'll go on his press tour and all that stuff, and we'll hear all about it.
Well, that's the thing. If you're Warner Brothers Discovery, do you let Ezra do a bunch of that stuff, or do you just
Yeah,
kind of
because he'll be able to talk about the success, and he'll be a mental health advocate, and that
gotcha?
actually is a good thing because then they can shop the movie. Not that they should, but they're going to shop the movie as, hey, look, we're all people, we're all normal, and even with our defects, we can get help and do the right thing. And everybody deserves a second chance.
Hmm.
So I'm pretty sure that's the deal that they have in place. Or obviously he gets cut from everything, and he's still on board. He's still cast. They haven't cut and delayed the movie to recast. Like there's clearly a deal in place, and he's clearly doing the right thing. So he will do that press tour, and you better believe, I'm calling it now, the press tour is going to be all and moving forward and how he battled and came back. Like it's going to be a success story, and he's going to use that to make himself better because he's going to want more gigs. Like he just came off of Harry Potter. I'm sorry, not Harry Potter, but that universe, the
Wizarding
uh,
World,
Wizarding World, the Secrets of, no, that's the title. The
the
Fantastic
magical
Beasts.
creature.
Sorry,
Yeah, there you go.
Fantastic Beasts. He just came off of that series and had a pretty decent role in it. And he didn't get cut from that film. Like he could have been cut from it, like Depp did, and he wasn't. So there, obviously, from what we know on the surface, I think he's trying and he's making the proper effort, and we will find out about that in the press tour.
Less than a year away, if one way or the other. Let's see which way the chips fall this winter. I think it is when The Flash releases. I won't be watching it, but I will will be covering its performance. That's for sure. And you wanted to cover some Golden Globes, which did end up, I'm still seeing stuff on Twitter. I guess some stuff did come out of it as far as some reactions to some of the winners. I don't follow Golden Globes quite as closely as some of the other award shows. Definitely, I don't follow them closely, but the Academy Awards, I do like to see what comes out of it, if anything, just to shape our Oscars each year. But let's talk a little bit about the Golden Globes since it looks like you have the winners on here.
Yeah, I just put a few. I didn't want to go through the whole list. It's pretty exhaustive. And yeah, a lot of people don't pay attention to the Golden Globes. The only reason why I like to bring it up and talk about it, or even have discussion amongst, our pool of people that we communicate with, is usually, all the moviegoers. Usually this indicates a sign to come what's going to happen at the Academy Awards. Usually when you got films that clean sweep at the Golden Globes, they're going to clean sweep at the Academy Awards. It's just the way it goes. Some of those performances and or films are just really, really good. So it doesn't always hold true, but the good indications are the one that sweep in multiple categories. Like last year it was the I'm forgetting the name of it, but it was the deaf actor in the movie that went to, I think it was an Apple Plus. And he clean swept at the Golden Globes and then clean swept at the Academy Awards, like the film and the actor, and well deserved. Like he put up a great performance in that role. So if you hear Del Toro wins Best Animated Picture, that was for Pinocchio, and I believe that's the one that's on Netflix.
Yeah,
some of these I have not watched. Some of them I have. The Banshees of Inisherin, it won Best Motion Picture Musical or Comedy. It also won for Best Actor, Colin Farrell, and then Best Screenplay for Martin McDonagh. Is this the one that you said you were watching a Colin Farrell movie? That's
the one. It's on HBO Max. It's not a musical, but like they said, it's a comedy. It is a dark comedy, so that's where they ended up putting it in.
I'll check it out. I like Colin Farrell. He's usually in good. What's funny is usually movies that he's in, 30 Seconds to Mars actors in their Joker.
Jared Leto?
Jared Leto is usually paired with him, so I'm surprised Leto wasn't in this movie.
Yeah, I don't know if you ever saw In Bruges, but this is the same director, and it has a similar feel.
Yeah, I haven't seen the whole film, but I've seen a part of it. Yeah, I when I heard you mention that and I was looking at this, I was like, I wonder if this is the same one he was watching. So I'll definitely go watch it. The Fabelmans, I had not even heard of this. It won Best Picture for Drama and Best Director for Steven Spielberg. Look at that, Steven Spielberg back. This one of my favorites. I watched this and I love it. White Lotus, again, this is 2 years in a row. Best TV Limited Series. This is a repeat winner. Best Supporting Actor Actress in Jennifer Coolidge. She won it last year as well. And then another one.
I'll watch it eventually.
Yeah, you got to watch it. It's so good. And there's only like 8 episodes, so it's not entirely exhaustive, but it's so good. Like the guy that did it, Mike White, he wrote it, directed it, filmed it. Like it's his whole baby, and he's got a trilogy. So that we're getting the next one, and each season has a different theme. So it's like pulled right from a book that he wrote. Kind of, it's based off of a series that he wrote, and that's why it's like he does everything. The film in it, like the shots are really good. It's just really well done, and it's not a comedy. It's more of a drama type, slightly drama. There's some little funny bits here and there, but it's not a comedy at all. So I highly recommend everybody watching White Lotus. Season 1 and season 2 are both on HBO Max. I had mentioned this one to you a few weeks ago. Abbott Elementary blew up. It got Best TV Series for a comedy. It also got Best Actress for TV, which is Quinta Brunson, and then Best Supporting Actor, which is Tyler James Williams. For those of you not familiar with Tyler James Williams, he was on the show Everybody Hates Chris. He played Chris Rock in that show. So that's who that is. Everything Everywhere All at Once won Best Actress in a Movie for Michelle Yeoh. So she had a big moment there, apparently. Best Supporting Actor in a Movie was Ki Hoi Kwan. And we have to mention this one because we love the MCU here. Black Panther Wakanda Forever, Best Supporting Actress in a Movie, Angela Bassett. The Queen herself won an award for the MCU. Very good. Well deserved. Matt called this 2 weeks ago, I believe. He said that she should get an award for this, and she did. She got it. I really hope she gets nominated for Academy Award, and I hope she wins it because she deserves it. Her performance in that movie was fantastic. It's deserved, and hopefully this transposes over to the Academy Awards. And congrats, Matt, for on that prediction.
Yeah, shout out to Matt for getting that right. Mastradamus hits again.
Yes.
When he comes back on, I got to remember to bring that up.
Yeah, for sure. Another bit of news here. Wait, hold on. Before we jump to anything else, any other thoughts on the Golden Globes?
Like you said, it is a good indicator for the Academy Awards. They don't match as far as winners, but at the very least, the categories, like you were mentioning, who gets nominated usually does match up pretty well with the Academy Awards. So it is a decent indicator as to what we should keep an eye on, what we should look out for. Del Toro winning is great, but I'm sure there's going to be some Disney animated movies that get nominated like they usually are each year. And that was an excellent movie as far as animation, Pinocchio. It's on Netflix right now. And I can't say much about the plot as far as spoilers, even though it's based on an old story. But in this case, I know for me, it was a story that I don't know. Some of the characters were handled in a way that I'm like, all right, maybe I wasn't in the mood for it. But the animation is incredible. The directing, of course, and Del Toro being involved in any capacity is always usually a pretty good thing. So at the very least for stop motion animation, I think that's great. And everything else that you had mentioned on here, I'm not a fan of everything on here, but it is at least worth checking out again to see what we're getting at the Academy Awards.
Yeah, most of these were also nominated in multiple categories. They just didn't win. So like the Banshees of Inisherin and the Fabelmans were in, I think, 5 or 6 different nominations. So there's a lot of different nominations for all these films, but those were the only ones that they won that were multiple for that film. So that's why I wanted to mention those.
And for MCU fans, like I know Matt is big into the MCU, and I know you do watch some of these films. So you included the Ant-Man Quantumania as far as the box office projections.
Yeah, there's a lot of buzz around this film. It's projected to do huge numbers at the box office as it propels the next MCU phase with the next big bad to tie in with all the titles, Kang the Conqueror. A lot of people aren't familiar with him, but everybody that is least dipped into the comic world knows who Kang is, and they're all excited to see what he's going to do. Like this will be his 3rd appearance in the MCU, but this will be the main appearance, like coming to the big screen, because his other 2 appearances have been on Disney Plus on shows. I think his biggest introduction was I might be getting the shows mixed up because it's been a while, but he was in a couple episodes of WandaVision. And they were kind of setting up what he is and what he's doing. And I can't remember. He might have been in Doctor Strange 2 for just very slightly for a short amount of time. So he's the new Thanos pretty much in the MCU. So we'll see what he does. Jonathan Majors is a great actor, and he should be able to pull this off. He's pulled it off so far, and getting on the big screen, having the stage should do well. He's also in, for those of you that want to follow who Jonathan Majors is, he's going to be in Creed 3. He's the opponent in that movie, the opponent fighter.
The only thing I'll say about this Ant-Man sequel is when Kelly and I went to the movies for The Whale, they played the Ant-Man trailer. It was funny because all the trailers before The Whale were like A24 films, indie films, movies that are at Sundance. They were marketing it right because people who watch The Whale are probably going to want to see those movies. And then Ant-Man and Quantumania showed up, and I started laughing at Kelly. I'm like, look at this. They're showing like an MCU film in this art house previews. And And that's the way I saw the trailer. And I was surprised to see that the actor who plays the Wasp, that she is involved as heavily, it seems like, in this movie, where she ends up going into the Quantum Mania with Ant-Man, because I remember she had gotten canceled over her COVID comments or being a Trump supporter or something. So I was kind of surprised that she has a big role in this sequel. And I don't know if they filmed this a long time ago during COVID or pre-COVID, but that's the only part that surprised me as far as the movie.
Yeah, she's the co-star, and then the supporting cast is Michelle Pfeiffer and Michael Douglas. So
Right.
between the two of them, Scott Lang and Scott Lang and his wife, which is Michelle Pfeiffer. I forgot her name in the film, but the parents, Pfeiffer and Douglas, are going to have a big role because the Quantumania, like, Pfeiffer has been holding out, and she knows stuff. So that'll unfold with the daughter. The daughter has been recast. A lot of people don't know that. That's not the girl from the first two Ant-Man films. They did recast the daughter. So that is a different girl, unfortunately. But everybody else is the same acting team or cast. My complaint, just looking at the two trailers that they put out, it's all green screen, unfortunately. And
Sure.
because of the nature of what they're doing, it's understandable. So as long as if anybody's going to critique it without seeing it, like, I'm not talking about you, but like, keep that in mind. Like, they're going into a fake realm. That's micro. Like, it's going to be green screened, and you can tell. Like, the whole film's going to be green screened for the most part. So just keep that in mind.
Last bit of news this week before we go into our Patreon comment is the top 25 films of 2022, and you added a graphic as well on here.
Yeah, I just wanted to quickly point out the success of the MCU films, how they did last year. Let's go down the list real quick. We'll just run down the list really quickly. Number one, Avatar: The Way of Water. Your favorite Fox film did very well. Which, interesting about that film, fun fact, that movie was out for 8 days in 2022, and it was the top grossing film of 2022.
Yeah, the MCU fans were so pissed off at this.
I want to know that fact. I want to know if that's ever done before, if that has ever happened. Lead the year in sales for the entire year, gross for worldwide in less than 2 weeks. I want to know if that's possible.
And it also broke another thing where James Cameron is the only director to have 5 films to hit over $1 billion.
At this point, James Cameron, he has his own heaven, he has his own universe, he has his own everything. Like, he's the god, and everybody knows it. Like, if you pay attention to film, you know he's a god. Look at all his films: Terminator 2, Avatar 2,
Titanic.
The Abyss, was that his too? Titanic, obviously. Oh, speaking of Titanic, real quick, Titanic's going back in the theaters like next month.
Yeah, I saw something about that on Twitter.
So he just needs to keep upping himself.
Yeah, he's his only opponent. It's that whole thing of that. It's literally him of your biggest opponent or your worst critic is yourself. It's like you're training in front of the mirror. You're never going to be faster than the guy in that reflection. And he's trying though. He's beating himself.
It's great. Good on him. Like, he's talented, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
So Avatar: The Way of the Water, 2, Top Gun: Maverick, 3, Jurassic World Dominion. Then we got Doctor Strange: Multiverse of Madness. Got an MCU movie there in the top 5. Minions: The Rise of Gru at 5. Black Panther: Wakanda Forever at 6. The Batman at 7. There's our first DC film. Thor: Love and Thunder at 8. So we got the DC films sandwiched between 2 Marvels. Should be the other way around. 9, Watergate Bridge. I've never heard of that film. 10, Moon Man. 11, Fantastic Beasts: The Secrets of Dumbledore. 12.
These are the stinkers because that didn't do well either. But
no,
that's because
it
of the
didn't.
budget.
And what kind of money did that make pushing on HBO Max? Like, we won't know that number. And I don't think it shows on here because its theater run is done, obviously. Mm-hmm. Sonic the Hedgehog 2, Uncharted. That movie was absolute garbage. How that's in the top 25, I'll never understand. 14, Black Adam, another DC film. 15, Elvis, The Bad Guys. Never heard of that one. Bullet Train, that's a fantastic film. Guys, if you have not watched Bullet Train, go watch it. It is on Netflix now. Great movie. Lightyear, Too Cool to Kill. Never heard of that one. A Smile at 20. Nice View. Never heard of that one. And that's at 21. 22, we have our next DC film, DC League of Super Pets. 23, Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. That is a late addition to the year, so that did pretty good considering it came out at the end of the year. I think that came out just before Avatar.
And we're in the 200 million, by the way.
Yeah,
so everyone has some context right now. We're in the 200 million.
24, The Lost City. I believe that's the movie with Channing Tatum and what's her name from Speed.
Oh, you're talking about Sandra
Good
Bullock.
Lord. Yes, Sandra Bullock. Jeez. That's on Paramount Plus, by the way. That's an interesting movie. So if you have Paramount Plus, check it out. It's a fun little film. 25, my favorite movie of the year, One Piece film, Red. Guys, you need to go support One Piece. You need to go to your local store and buy One Piece. One Piece is amazing. Love One Piece, always have. It's the best fan base ever. Better than MCU fans, better than angry DC fans. One Piece is amazing. Please go support One Piece film, Red. Shout out, Jock. And then just these last three that are on here on purpose. 26 with Nope. 27, Ticket to Paradise. And then 28th, Morbius. I went to 28 because Morbius. I wanted to include Morbius. It's not a Marvel film, but it is one of those weird films that Sony wants to make because they think they can make films because they want to make money based on somebody else's license and they don't want to give it back to Marvel. So that's why they did it.
Well, sure. I mean, it pulled a profit for them, so make the money.
Yeah, sure. I'm not interested in them pulling apart fan bases because they want to be greedy with their properties, just like Universal is with Hulk. It's the dumbest thing ever. Good on them.
How come they're greedy, but Disney's not? I want to hear that one.
Because Disney owns it. The mistake that Marvel made prior to Disney owning them was they licensed out the entire Spider-Man franchise, everything having to do with it, to Sony. This was a pre-Disney deal. So that's why this exists.
Belongs to Sony. The film rights belong to Sony.
Which is fine. I'm not arguing that. I'm not arguing that. But they're trying to ride the coattails of the MCU and then don't want to play nice, yet they would have made 167 million. They could have made 400 million if they just play nice with Disney, but they won't, which they don't have to. Well, I'm not arguing for or against. They don't need to.
This has a connection to the MCU, and so did Venom 2. They're playing nice with Disney. They're connected.
All right, when Morbius shows up in an MCU film, come talk to me. It's not going to happen.
Did you watch Morbius?
I haven't. I haven't watched it yet.
Okay. Well, there is a crossover there, and I guess I'll leave it there.
Yeah, I did hear about that. Yeah, we'll leave it there, but I did hear about that. I don't think that's good enough. I think we need Jared Leto showing up in the MCU is what we need. That's what we need. That would solidify, like, this is a real thing. Because just think about how much Morbius would make, especially if they announce I think they did, but if they do a sequel, if he shows up in Ant-Man, okay, he won't, but let's just say he does in the post-credit scene, Morbius 2 will do that much better. Because he's like clearly tied in. That's what I'm getting at. You
also got to keep in mind, maybe it's Disney that doesn't want Morbius showing up in because the character that shows up in Morbius is someone that Sony has control over, and I'm assuming that's why they had them in that film. So that's up to Disney as far as if Morbius shows up in that universe, if Disney wants him there, and I think they don't. So I think it's Disney not playing nice with Sony instead of the other way around.
It's both ways, and it's all tied around money. We know that. So it's an argument that just goes in circles because money. It sucks. If everybody would just play nice, which is never going to happen, then everybody would get what they want. But whatever.
I was going to say, like I mentioned before, while I don't agree with Sony's practices when it comes to their consoles, I am a Microsoft guy. I do agree with their practices when it comes to the Marvel Universe, and I will be there for Morbius 2 when that happens. And also the Bad Bunny movie. That what's the character he plays in that?
I forgot the character, but yeah, I remember that being brought up.
Let's see,
recently.
El Muerto. I've always loved El Muerto. Yeah. I'll be watching that day one. Isn't that crazy? I'll be watching an El Muerto movie over a Batman movie, over an MCU movie.
and it shouldn't be that way. But I just wanted to show the comparison here. We've got Doctor Strange that made 955 million. These are global numbers. And at 4th place, and then 6th place, Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, 831 million. Thor: Love and Thunder at 8th with 760 million. So those three are in the top 10. The only other top 10 DC film is the Batman, just in between 6 and 8 Marvels, with 770 million. That was the one that they touted the most and did so well. And apparently they're trying to get an Oscar nom in there. So we'll see how that goes. I think that'll be hilarious. Black Adam at 14 with 392 million global, which I think it's still it doesn't matter. This is 2022 numbers, but I think it's still in theaters, right?
Probably in some of those theaters that just have to have a million screens, like 30 screens, although I wouldn't be shocked if a bunch of them were taken up by Avatar right now.
Yeah, that's fair. And then DC League of Super Pets at 22 with 207 million. So some interesting numbers there. If anybody wants to reference this, it's on Box Office Mojo, and it's just the 2022 global standings for the year. Interesting stuff there. I think Avatar is the most interesting one, that it was out there for less than 2 weeks and it blew everything away, even Top Gun. Freaking crazy. It blew it out by over 300,000. That's wild.
Yeah, that shocked me. Now, Top Gun Maverick is my favorite one of last year, so I was a little
It's
sad
still
that
in the theater. Top Gun is
I
still
believe
in the
that. I
theater.
believe that. That's great. Already out on Blu-ray, it's streaming on Paramount Plus, and still in theaters. That's insane. Although they kind of do this at the end of the year, and especially during Academy Award season, where they'll bring back some movies that get nominated.
No, it never left. It was always there.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
It never went away. Because remember, the streaming went live. I know this because I was able to finally watch it. I have watched it now. It went live on streaming on Paramount Plus on December 22nd. So it was still in the theaters up to that point, and it still is in the theaters because I went to the Oviedo Mall last week and it's still there playing.
Holy shit. It must be bringing in numbers still.
It's making money, so it's still getting the money. And let's be honest, there's a lot of films being put out into the theaters at the moment. So you might as well keep the ones that are at least keeping the doors open.
Exactly. Well, there you go. That rounds out the rest of our news for this week. Here's a Patreon comment from Adrian. Much appreciated, Adrian. And this was referencing last week's episode. Adrian said, quote, "Most of the anime that was named, I don't think are on Netflix in the USA, maybe in other countries. I don't watch a lot of anime. I've been watching a lot of Korean dramas, except Squid Game. With Bautista, I saw him in Glass Onion. He was good. Glass Onion isn't better than the first Knives Out, though. Bautista should have been the Snyderverse's Black Adam. And Alan Richardson from Reacher should have been the Snyderverse's Shazam. Zack Snyder, or whichever director he hires, would have made their battle badass. Upcoming films in 2023, I'm only looking forward to John Wick 4. Donnie Yen and Scott Adkins will be in that film. I like the first and third. The third seemed to have left off on a cliffhanger. Good show. Thanks for the shout out." End quote. Much appreciated, Adrian. I'm always supporting Bautista in anything he would be. I would have loved him in any casting. I am curious as to whether Mark Wahlberg was that universe's Shazam or that Green Lantern. We know that he was in talks in some role in the Snyderverse. We just don't know what that was. Maybe it would have been that universe's Shazam. Obviously, things have changed since then, but hopefully one day we know who that universe's Captain Marvel and Black Adam would have been. But have you seen Glass Onion or the Knives Out movies? I know they're pretty popular.
Yeah, I've seen both. I don't think it's better than the first one. The first one was okay, but the second one was really good. It was very well pulled off. The star of the show for me in Glass Onion was Janelle Monáe. She did amazing in that role, and then the mystery that unfolded. And for anybody that needs to know, they are not connected. It's not it's not a sequel, so you don't need to watch the first one to watch the second. Watch them out of order. It doesn't matter. The only thing that is in both movies is Daniel Craig, because he's a famous detective. I forgot his name. It's a French name, but he is the only piece that's in the two movies, and even in the second movie, it's not referenced for his first mystery that he solved. He's just a renowned detective. He's kind of like the modern day Sherlock Holmes. That's all there is to it. Yeah, Janelle Monáe was amazing. Bautista was okay. He was the dumbass in the movie, pretty much.
Gotcha.
And then the one that surprised me, I didn't even notice he was in it until he just popped up, is Ed Norton. Ed Norton's back. He hasn't done anything in a while. It's that I paid attention to, but he's a shining star in here. Like, that dude's got talent. Don't forget that. Like, he did amazing. He pretty much plays the Elon Musk in this film. He's essentially Elon Musk. So he did a fantastic job. Daniel Craig's performance was great too, but to me, Janelle Monáe is the one that stands out. She's the star.
Ed Norton's Hulk, man, that's my favorite Hulk right there. As far as the big screen, he did great, but he's another one who ruffles feathers in Hollywood. He's another one that will get into scripts and try to do his own rewrites.
If he didn't want to do so much creative control with that character, man, we would have had such a different Hulk in the MCU. But it is what it is. He's talented and he knows it, so he did what he had to do.
So once again, thanks to Adrian for that Patreon comment. Don't forget, if you would like to support us on Patreon and get the show early every week, head on over to patreon.com/thereasonsimBroke. So let's head into the final portion of today's show, the Brokehead Block, what Bobby and I have been up to since you last heard us. So start it off, Bobby. What have you been up to? What's been making you broke? What have you been playing, watching, or reading?
I'm on a break now from Pokemon. I can't remember the last time exactly I was on here on timing. I think I had been on here just after I came back from Brazil.
Yeah.
So yeah, I had a mini gauntlet there where I had so many events back to back that were all within 3 weeks, and it was in 3 different countries. So I went to Brazil for a week, and then Sao Paulo, Brazil, and then that same week on the Friday I went to Toronto for the weekend, and then came back, and then off for 1 week, and then went to Arlington, and I was out there for the weekend. So I've been on break since then. That was a whirlwind. So many different things going on at once, but it was an experience. Had some great tournaments, and had a great time. I'm getting new leadership opportunities there, and it's a lot of fun. I'm also teaching a lot of the newer judges that are coming along, so lot of exciting things going on there. As far as others, like I've been fine tuning my collection with comics. I'm about to send some more books out. You have some books in that batch too, so we'll both be sharing some nice mail days here shortly. For those of you that are into comics, like I know John, he has a Tex, forgetting his full name.
Oh yeah, John
You know what I'm talking
72
about.
Tex.
Yeah, John 72 Tex. He has
Long-time
a
broadcast.
fantastic collection. Oh my God, I'm so jealous of his collection. So shout out to him. Go check his videos out. He does some great unboxings. But I'm slowly getting to the point where I'm going to have I have a lot of that stuff too. Not a lot, but I have a decent slice of some of the cool stuff that he has, or maybe he doesn't have, because he has nicer stuff. I'm building up a really nice slab collection here, and it's coming out great. And I'm finding books in my collection I didn't realize I had. Going back, and I found some others. Like it's like I found Amazing Fantasy 15. Like I didn't even know I had that. And no, I'm not talking about the OG. I'm talking about the one from 2004 or 2006. And that book's for like $1,000. I found that stupid book in a dollar bin at MegaCon. Can you believe that?
Is that a part of where they had them as a part of action figures? Because those go for a little bit of money.
Yeah, those do. But that's not what this is. It's just it was another Amazing Fantasy run. I think it went to 22 or 20 issues. And I got a few of them at my local shop. I don't know how. Maybe it was in a dollar bin or whatever. And then when I was really hunting books at MegaCon back in the day, I'd always surf the dollar bins, and that's how I get all the good books that I have. Like I have some of these key issues that I have. I paid $1 for them in the dollar bins. It's wild. That was so exciting finding all those, and then now realizing how I got them. And this book, it's Amazing Fantasy number 15, not the OG one from the 60s, but it's a homage to it on the cover, and it's a Spider-Man book, but it's got first appearances for other characters, multiple. And the most notable one is Amadeus Cho. It's his first appearance. And why is he getting a lot of hubbub? Because he's rumored to be in the new Thunderbolts movie with Harrison Ford as Red Hulk. So, of course, if you go look at the Red Hulk books, which is one of my favorites, I have every single variant available, and all those variants are going for thousands. I bought those at cover price at the store. So it's crazy to see some of this stuff happen. Just, I have attachment to books. That's why I don't sell them. I have my books because I got them a certain way, or, I brought it to a con and had somebody sign it, stuff like that. And then most recently I've been sending books off to CGC to have creators sign them, because I don't have access to all these cons. And CGC's gotten smart where they bring the creator to their studio, and you submit the books and they sign them for you, and they get the yellow CGC label. It's great. The only thing that's missing that I regret in all of this is I don't have the attachment of meeting that creator and having a conversation, because that was the one thing that I did do before COVID, is I would go to shows and bring a book or two, and I would always send off books to CGC, and I have a small pile. It's like, okay, here's my budget. This is what I want to do. These people are here. And like, I'd go to the creator, writer, or if they're writer, artist, whatever, and have them sign the book. And while they're signing, I would ask them simple questions. Just have a normal conversation. Like, hey, what got you started? What character is your favorite? What do you enjoy working on? Or what gets your creative juices flowing? Like what, little things like that, because they enjoy that conversation. And then, you're not just there to get their signature and flip the book, which a lot of buttholes are there to do and make life hard. A perfect example of that is Jimmy and Amanda. Like people were taking advantage of them. They had to set rules. Like before they took a stance on what they were doing to sign books. You used to be able to walk up and get books signed for free. Problem is, like, people would roll up this cart with a long box and just plop the books on the table and have this poor creator sit there and sign all of them when you're just trying to profit off of them. So now it's, you usually got to pay for autographs, which I don't mind. Support them, and it cuts out a lot of the weeds when it comes to the freaking flippers, because they're buttholes. Really, they are. So that's the only thing that's missing is the personal attachment to some of those stories that I have from my older books that I got signed in person because I have conversations. Like I have 4 books signed by George Perez, and I had a wonderful conversation with him when I got those books signed. And CGC was there, so I had them witness it when I was, getting the book signed. And I'm not selling those books. I'm keeping those books because I know that, my Teen Titans #1 is signed by him and I have a story with it. I got to meet him and talk to him and have a conversation. And same thing with, the Judas contract book that I have and the Teen Titans #6, I think, just because I love the cover art. It's pretty cool. And I had him sign that one. So it's like that's what I value most in my collection, not just the keys, but how I got them and the stuff that I did either with those books or how I acquired them.
I always like, as you were saying, having a story behind the signature, but yeah, CGC bringing in these creators and having them sign these things, sure, it removes that experience. And I know there is a little bit of a hassle of, hey, I need that CGC. I don't know if they still do it this way, but years ago, I'm talking like a decade ago, where I would tell Kelly, I'd be in line and be like, okay, please go get the CGC person to
Oh, yeah.
witness.
When you get to the line, yeah.
When you get to the front of the line. So that's what we would have to do, and then have them witness it, okay, and then directly bring the book back. That way you don't swap it out with a different signed copy or something like that. And then they would put the yellow label on there. So that's one thing that it does take out of, and that is nice. Like when I think, I can't remember if I've done a signing through you as far as like, oh, someone's going to sign it. But that is a very nice option of, okay, well, they never come to MegaCon or they never show up at these conventions. Pac Leeson, yeah, he's shown up, but who knows if he'll ever show up again or if I'll ever meet him. But having that opportunity, for example, or Todd McFarlane, send this book in. Yes, it costs a premium. I think it is more expensive than if you were to go to a convention, but it saves me the time, the hours of standing in line and sure, getting to talk to them. But sometimes you don't get to talk to them. Sometimes I've got a long line, sign the book, like, for example, Stan Lee used to do, just sign the book and move on. And that's one of the things where it's probably a COVID thing. If COVID hadn't happened, I don't know if CGC would have had this strong push to bring creators in, have them sign a bunch of books, and then send them all out. If they did, it would have been, I think, a few years down the line still.
Yeah, because their business was booming with the con shutdowns and, the collectibles market in general. So yeah, they needed to find somehow to replace that, and they did. They got it. And I think it's great. Yes, it removes the personal aspect, but I think it's a great idea. I've gotten so many books signed by creators that I normally wouldn't have gotten signed. I would have never waited in a line to get Todd McFarlane to sign a book, even if he showed up at MegaCon, which he never has, by the way. So the fact that I was able to send, what did I send? I sent 3 books in. I sent ASM 300. I had him sign that. And then I had him sign Spawn #1 and 2. And his signature looks fantastic. He used a colored marker. And he's just got one of those iconic signatures, and the books came out great. I'm happy I did it. My 2 Spawn books I've again found in dollar bins at MegaCon back in the early 2000s, and then my ASM 300 luckily is just fortunate. It showed up at my local comic book shop. I walked in to get my sub, and it was just sitting there on the shelf, and I was like, "You got to be kidding me!" And the price was like good, so I went home, grabbed all my pops, went to the store, traded them in, walked out with the book. Simple. So, yes, my pop collection is much lighter now.
Well, as always, if you want to see some of these books that Bobby puts up or see on CGC, head on over to our Discord on their Collector's Corner, and you'll see Bobby every now and again. He'll have a mail day, and then you'll see a dump of pictures for his latest CGC. And I do tweet them out as a reminder in case you don't have that invite link. That's on our description and on Twitter whenever I do share an image from your CGC haul.
And everybody, if you got questions about CGC, there's a lot of, if you need clarity on certain things, just ask me, tag me, Discord or on Twitter. We'll get to the handles later, but I can answer those questions. I've gone through a lot of different experiences now where I fully understand a lot of the ins and outs with grading and how it works, the things you shouldn't do, things you should do, things you should not send them, and to be aware of when you get something back and not get shocked as to why it either got a purple label or a green label or a yellow/green label, things like that. So, or even what you could get dinged on for like big deductions on a grade. It's been a fun experience, and I'm glad I'm able to protect my collection. That's the main reason I do it. It's an investment pretty much for the future. So at some point I'm going to do something with them, and I might have a family emergency, or who knows, maybe I lose my job 10 years from now and can't work again and I need money. So I'll have money. That stuff's worth some pennies. So
Well, there you have it. The only thing I've had really going on this week is also a reminder for I know several Brocats are Snyderverse fans, is on the anniversary, February 14th. So next month on the 14th, we're doing a huge push for hashtag sell Snyderverse to Netflix or sell ZSJL to Netflix. I'm sure you've seen tons of tweets already promoting the event, and that will be, and I'm glad that it's the movement's getting together, because I know the movement itself has gotten fractured with certain people in the past that have disagreed on the direction of the trends and the names and all that stuff, and a lot of people that are in it for personal gain rather than future movies. But all of that is, at least in the moment, it sounds like we're all getting together to have this big push for the 14th. So we'll see what ends up happening there. It's already been big enough to where trades and websites have picked up this story of Snyderverse fans want Netflix to pick it up. So it's getting traction, and I think it'll continue to get traction leading up until the 14th. And that's where the big push will happen. And maybe we'll get Netflix's attention. I know they are back up into positives as far as quarterly earnings. And I know they were down for a few quarters there, but now they're back up again. So that's why they're investing in projects and moving forward. I think they were building a studio for a producer. I forgot who it was, but they're already spending money on getting some warehouses built for in Jersey to get some production set up over there. But that's once again on the 14th, and you will see the hashtag on Twitter right now if you go on their trending. And just a reminder, on everywhere you can, that will be a good day to post it. But otherwise, thank you so much for joining us this week, and to you, Bobby, for helping me host this week and for providing some great stories and content for episode number 544. Please let them know where they can find you if they want to continue the conversation.
Yeah, if you want to reach out, you can find me on Twitter at CubanSlim. That's QBANSLIM. It'll be in the show notes. And you can find us in the Discord. Again, I know everybody's got multiple Discord channels that they're in. Just join, and if it's a nuisance to you, just mute the server. We won't be offended, but at least you'll have access to talking to us or picking and choosing what you want to see. So it's cool. It's free. You don't have to pay for it. And we love chatting about this stuff. And if you ask questions, it's cool. I can also provide a lot of information for Pokemon. If you got questions about Pokemon TCG or even the video game, I can help you out with that as well, especially from a competitive standpoint. Not so much the anime, but the playing standpoint. Yeah, I can help you out.
Awesome. Very good. So thanks again to Bobby and to you on the other side for tuning in once again and joining us into 2023 or joining us for the first time in this new year. I've been Daniel, joined by Bobby, and Brocat Core. All will be well. I know you're not much of an anime guy, but you are a big One Piece fan. So who is your favorite character of One Piece?
My favorite character is Luffy Monkey. Luffy Monkey is my favorite character because he's a cute little monkey.
Is that your reason? He's a cute little monkey? Is that?
he's a cute little monkey that finds all the money.
Yeah, and
Luffy Monkey has all the money, and I love it.
So tell me a little bit about him. Is he like a pirate, or what's his deal?
Apparently he's some pirate. He's got like this scar on his chest, and he wears like a red pirate hat. Who would have thought that a monkey would wear a pirate hat? It's a red pirate hat too. And just sails all over the place and looking for this treasure called the One Piece. So like I'm always worried that he's going to find the One Piece and then this money stops. Like there's so much money, so much, like all these anime and all these, like there's over 1,000 episodes, right? And you got all this manga that you can read. Like, what are they actually going to do when they find the One Piece? Or do they never find the One Piece? Or do they find it and they go to Two Piece?
Oh, there's an idea. Two Piece.
Two Piece.
That. You'd love that, wouldn't you?
And then, yeah, more money. And maybe it's not a monkey. Maybe it's a lion cub that they use. Like they can mimic Disney and do Lion King. It's a lion with a fan on his back and a cape. I don't know. With not a scar on his chest, but a scar on his leg. And not an X, but a lightning bolt, like Harry Potter. Like, who knows what they'll do?
Well, damn, now I know more about One Piece thanks to you. I knew next to nothing, and I used to think it was a toxic TCG, but apparently things have changed, and I was completely wrong.
No, how dare you? Don't ever call that toxic. Holy crap. It's so... Oh, loved it, always have. Best fan base ever. Right, Jock?